Hi, everybody. Happy Friday, mid-November. And I have an important topic to talk to you about today, which is e-readers or tablets versus print books for kids, the differences, which to choose, and what my opinions are on that. So with the booming boom of tablets, iPads, Kindles that are now like tablets, interactive, not just the original Kindle readers, computers. It is easier and easier for parents to buy, purchase, rent books for kids, or free books on tablets and give kids, even they're making now tablets or Kindles that are just made for young children, with the idea of getting them to read more, which is really more about getting Amazon more money, and entertaining kids more through digital interactivity. So what research shows, Scholastic did some studies that talks about the difference between the values of e-readers versus print books for kids. And the results say, as well as the research, that 68 to 70% of parents would prefer their children read, if at all possible, paper books versus tablets. And I couldn't agree more. The reason being, I mean, there's something to be said about having a printed paperback book in your hands. The tactile experience a child has with a book can't replace, what you have with a tablet. There's the being able to hold the book, feel the book, see the art up close, flip the pages, turn the pages, carry the book around with you, and the book is only about the book. The problem with tablets or e-readers for especially younger children that are age toddler, maybe through third grade, is two things. First of all, nothing can replace the rewarding, nurturing, and enriching experience of cuddling up with a parent or literary aid, a grandparent, or a teacher, even up close and reading to him or her a story or helping him or her read a book while you follow along. Children begin to associate from an early age that reading stories, having stories read to them, is a form of love, a form of nurturing, and it helps bond and relationships, people together, caregivers with children, and it solidifies relationships and it creates memories, that those positive memories of the close knit experience of reading to a child a paper book, flipping through the pages and sharing that. Actually, a child is more likely to stay engaged in the book and associate positive feelings with the book and remember the book. So the problem with parents who try to sit with a child who has a tablet and is reading a storybook on a tablet is that studies show that parents spend more of their time trying to control or reprimand a child during the process of going through a digital book, than because they're trying to look at other things, or trying to go off of the screen into the internet or other buttons, or they're getting distracted by all the bells and whistles and sounds and interactive stuff, that it really distracts from the story, the book, the literature, and the experience of bonding and reading with a child. And the downside of giving a child that's maybe a little bit older, or especially that's still young, second, third, fourth, fifth grade, is that, you give them a tablet for reading books. They're very, 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 and in fact, very likely to end up doing other things on the tablet besides reading the book. They could be looking at the Kindle store. They could be going onto the internet. They could be playing a game on there. I mean, it is an entertaining, interactive device. And there's a lot more on there that children know is interesting than reading books, especially if they don't love reading, like reading, or they're easily distracted. And so I don't feel that it's the best choice, in my opinion. And as a lot of other parents don't as well. And from a professional lens, I look more at the research and how there's not enough evidence to know what this generation of readers were raising, now using tablets for reading, starting with a young age, like children's Kindles and pet tablets. It hasn't been long enough, because these children, from a literacy perspective, haven't grown old enough yet to see generationally what difference has come in their learning as far as the outcome down the road. Children who are now being raised on tablets, using books in tablets and doing all their studies on tablets, versus paper books, like maybe even 10 years ago, or from my era, or sooner. There I'm thinking about books genre. So it's a little bit, it's a little risky. I mean, I think Also, unless you're spending a lot of money actually buying the books on Kindle, you're more likely to probably, if you're using a tablet, go for the free books, free Prime books or free whatever books. And generally it's not as high quality literature, more like just kids stories, or the ones that aren't selling, or the self-published ones you're going to get as the free versions for books you can read for free, including picture books on tablets. So your child is not getting the best exposure to the best literature, and they're likely not learning a lot from those kind of stories. And those books might be questionable if they haven't been professionally reviewed. They haven't been used for core standards. They haven't been put through like Library Journal or Book Riot or Goodreads, and there isn't enough research behind the books that go in there too easily, that are given away for free with memberships like Kindle Unlimited and things like that. So, and it's harder to carefully select books on there. And worse, it ends up, especially the books you can buy for kids on these tablets that are interactive, that read to the kids, that have voices and make sounds and bells and whistles, and the screens are animated. It's more, the child isn't really building as much literacy. Of course, it depends on the program, the software, but it becomes more of a game. The child associates it with a game, with watching cartoons, with entertainment. Sure, they maybe are practicing some story listening skills. So there that falls in the difference between an audiobook, which is purely listening to somebody read, versus reading yourself. Different kinds of skills are utilized. But at least with an audiobook, it's only auditory. That's different than a tablet or an e-reader with a book that's a live interactive book that's not just audio. It also has tactile, it has lights and characters moving around and jumping images and sounds. And so the child is distracted by all of their senses, just paying attention to these entertainment aspects. It's taking away the focus of even developing as many listening skills, because they're not just hearing the story anymore. They're more being moved by the entertainment of the interaction of the special effects on these. I almost want to call them games, because they do sometimes feel like that. So I think that e-readers and tablets are more appropriate for children that are in the older grades, maybe grades 5 or middle school to high school, of course. But for smaller children, all the way up through the earliest years, the primary grades, I really recommend only giving them picture books, paper books, novels, hardbacks, whatever, and not getting them into the habit of reading books, buying them books, or even giving them free books on their tablets, because 9 times out of 10, you walk away for a minute, that kid is probably going out of the book and doing something else on that tablet. Now, certainly there are certain devices meant for kids, for books, that you can control the settings on and do all these parental controls and stuff, but it's just not the same as far as building literacy and using the same analytical skills, and maybe not even reaching as higher levels of learning if you're looking at it from like the the chain of learning, and pulling on higher levels of introspection and things like that, from just strictly using the mind and reading words, practicing words, or hearing your parent read it to you. What you're going to get from a tablet or e-reader, it's different. Now, there have been some studies to show that in higher grades, maybe a couple of studies where you had children that are having a hard time with literacy, learning how to read, practicing their phonics, they're learning their ABCs. There are some interactive programs that involve language arts that might teach letters. Kids can get in there and play the quote games and really learn. They're learning some of their letters faster. They might learn some letters faster, putting together CAT for cat, or learning sounds and phonics and things like that. They have had their benefits and studies for that. But I would say once a child knows how to read and is past the learning how to read phase, and it's time to start reading books on his or own, that my suggestion is to only give them tactile books, and provide tactile books that are carefully selected, and save the tablets for research or games entirely, and try to not get them in that habit, because even for myself, if I go to get a magazine, I get the latest Forks Over Knives or Cooking Light magazine, or some kind of a magazine on my iPad Pro, it's just not the same as when I have it in my hand. I can see the pictures and flip them and take it around with me, and the excitement of getting it in the mail. And it's sometimes when you're in a tablet, it just feels, whatever you're reading, it just feels like looking at another website page, like what's the difference of going to Google and Googling a topic on something and reading the script versus reading the script in a so-called book. It's just more text on a screen. It just doesn't feel like a book. It feels like you're reading the internet or reading an article. So it's just, there are mostly pros to not doing it. There are some benefits to using tablets in the learning curriculum. But I advise when it comes to literature and reading to be very, very careful how you go about doing so. Anyway, more on important topics for literature in the literary rich environments for kids coming up next week. Thanks for everybody for watching.